Hi, I'm Joni Patry, and welcome to my YouTube channel. Well, today I want to talk about the month of October because this is truly the turning point. As I've been saying all along, the last 3 months of this year will be the grand finale. It will be the Great Awakening. So much is about to unravel. You're going to want to hear this. But before I go forward, I want to remind everyone to sign up for my free newsletter where you will get all of these predictions and then some for the entire month of October, delivered free to your email address. So go to my website, galacticcenter.org, and sign up for my free newsletter. You'll be glad you did. So let me continue on with what is really happening in this world. So many people say this is the craziest time they've ever seen on planet Earth. But you know, we're in the eye of a hurricane right now. We can't see outside of all the confusion just yet, but it really is being revealed. It's unraveling quickly. Now, this is going to be a very, very impactful month. The transits of the planets are huge, what's happening. And let me just jump into the very first transit that I think is going to cause most of the events this month of October, and that's Mars. Mars is in Virgo, and it's traveling with the sun. Now, they will conjoin together on October 8th, but October 6th, watch how everything starts to come out. Why do I say that? That's the new moon. And the new moon is right there with the sun on October 6th at 19 degrees of Virgo. Remember, I'm talking about the sidereal Vedic zodiac, not tropical Western. But this is the true placements of where the planets are. And talking about that conjunction of Mars and the sun, Mars is violence. On the new moon, a new moon is when the sun and the moon come together. So we're going to have on October 6th, the moon and the sun and Mars exactly conjunct at 19 degrees of Virgo. And if you look, Uranus, the planet of sudden unexpected changes, is at 19 degrees of Aries. And that is what we call in astrology a quincunx, or there's 6 or 8 placements from each other. 6 represents accidents, enemies. Eighth house deals with death and endings. So you see, this is possibly some type of attack that's about to occur. And probably one of the hardest things in astrology is to determine where. But remember, we're in a global society today. Everyone's going through the same things. This is important to realize. And also talking about this, you know, so many people ask me, why is this going on? What's going to happen? How can this be continuing the way it is? And my thoughts and feelings to tell you about that is actually, well, as above, so below. You've heard me say that so many times. That's what's happening in the heavens affects what's happening here on earth. But also, I always say, and this is something that most people can't understand, but I'm going to explain it to you. How does what's going on within you, how is that a reflection of what's going on out in the world? It always is the case. So what I foresee with that is that the reason why it's a reflection, and most people are going, that's not me. What's going on out there has nothing to do with me. But essentially it does. You see, your subconscious mind is highly sensitive. This is the human psyche. It's highly sensitive, and the subconscious mind never forgets. Okay? So throughout our life experiences, whatever we experience, the mind holds on to that, especially when it comes to injustices, because people are always looking for justice. Whether you know it or not, people want things to be right instead of wrong. And I find that when you want this justice and you don't get it, well, that's when the anger really sets in. So over time, when repeatedly you go through hurtful experiences such as betrayals, such as prejudice, injustice of any kind that happens to you, even as a small child, your mind holds on to that. And it actually produces the way that you react to certain situations because you hold on to the fact that you want things just. Now, everybody has these emotions about feelings of injustice deep down within. And of course, what's being portrayed out there in the media around the world are all these injustices. And people are finally had enough. They're fighting back. Or at least it seems like at this point in time, nothing's being done. But the gravity of the people, everything is coming to a head more than ever because, when I look at what brought us here, 2020, the coronavirus, with all the lockdowns and all the problems with vaccines. And here's the thing about vaccines. People don't trust the governments anymore. So how are they going to trust them to go get vaccinated? This is why they don't trust. But it's so up to the individual based on their psyche, whether they choose to get vaccinated or not get vaccinated. It's something deep within their heart and soul. But going back to 2020 that started all this in the very first place, I always say, when we get a little distance from this time period, we're in the eye of the hurricane, when we get a little distance from this and we look back, the year of 2020 will be just like that. Hindsight is 2020. We can see that everything that is happening at this point on planet Earth is in divine order. It's changing the world. It may seem terribly chaotic, especially for the last part of the year of 2021. But what is going to evolve out of this through destruction is going to be a massive healing. And the planet will be a better place ultimately because of this. And that's hard to believe right now. And I always think back to the time when we look back at World War II, when we look back at the Vietnam War, we think, now we can see what was going on. But at the time, people didn't know. Even in Germany and the United States, people didn't know what was going on during World War II. In Poland, in Germany, all of the injustices, the most horrible things were going on. But now, hindsight's 2020, and that's what we're going to evolve, and that's what we're coming to ahead, where all of the injustices will be cleared and will be clear to us why we had to go through that. And one thing is, this is a very, very important time for you to take some personal assessment about yourself. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to ask the question, maybe even journal your thoughts on why, going back to the time of a child, all the times you felt total injustice, maybe prejudice, maybe betrayal, and see how that didn't shape your reactions to what you believe that's going on in the media right now. It does. So the outside world is a reflection, and people are getting angrier as time goes on. So let me talk a little bit more about the astrology. I've been talking about the Saturn and Uranus square that happens every 11 to 12 years. Every time there's been major crises. But one of the most important things I talk about in my video, Saturn and Uranus square, is the fact that during those times there are more earthquakes and there are more airline crashes. That will be in effect for the last few months, really November through January of 2021, January 2022. So for those 3 months. But here's another thing. When I look at the full moon, now the full moon is going to be happening, let's see here, I think the 20th of October, yes. And that full moon deals with everything coming to the forefront. It's like the new moon is where the seed is planted, and the full moon is where the effects are felt. And I noticed at that full moon, Venus and Neptune will be in a quincunx 6-8 relationship. And that means deception. Neptune deals with getting the deception out, but there's so much deception. Here's the thing that we are going to note. When we look back, we will not believe the deception that's been going on. It will be shocking at what has been going on and the betrayals that the world will feel when we realize the truth. So that's a lot to say. But let me go back to the 6th of October, where we're looking at the new moon with Mars, Sun, and the moon. And the moon means the masses, the people, and Mars is anger, and the sun can be leaders. This is a big explosion. The masses with anger are fighting back. This is globally. But I have looked at the charts of the United States, and I did notice that this Mars, Sun, Moon will be in the 10th house of the USA chart I use on Saturn. So this has to do with the way the governments are run and the way the governments are healing and what will come out of it. But there's so much rage. And something's about to come down. Mark my words, okay? So one more thing, because Mars, Moon, and the sun are in Virgo, it is all about this health crisis, and it's all about work. People are not wanting to work like they used to. Those two areas are being affected, work and health and healing. And ultimately there will be a healing, because that's what Virgo's all about. Now there's some pretty important days in October. One is October 18th, because October 18th is the day that both Jupiter and Mercury will turn direct on that day. Mercury will actually be 15 degrees of Virgo, and Virgo is Mercury's favorite sign to be in. It's exalted in Virgo, but not only with its exaltation in Virgo, let me tell you something else important. 15 degrees is the exact degree, highest point of exaltation. And Mercury rules the media, Mercury rules communications. So much is about to come down on the media, because they're the ones that actually have been controlling us all along. And that is where major exposure and change is going to happen. Jupiter will be at 28 degrees when it turns direct on October 18th. And actually, it's casting a trine to Mercury, which means that something good has to come out of this. A reconciliation of sorts. But use this day for beginning new projects and new events, because I think it's a very powerful day for things moving forward. Because these two planets that deal with travel, communications are moving forward finally. Now the same week, Saturn turns direct, and that's going to be October 11th. Saturn turns direct at around 13 degrees of Capricorn. And Saturn rules governments, and it's strong in Capricorn, although I noticed that its placement in the divisional charts, particularly the D9 chart, it goes to its debilitation. So what appears to be in control is actually out of control. Something is not right. And what I want you to know throughout this whole month is that the truth is coming out, although not very many people are admitting it. But the people, the masses, are fed up with the media, the facade, what they are trying to get us to all believe. It's about to explode. This is the month. Watch these dates. And another thing is the deception. I've been talking about the deception, and the deception is going to be, off the charts. So another thing that I talked about, just to sum it all up, is that I talked about Rahu as it shifted into the nakshatra called Kritika. And this portion of the zodiac is where the Pleiades are. And the Pleiades are actually associated with the Weeping Sisters. And these sisters, if you go back through the story of the stars, these sisters were falsely accused of wrongdoing they did not do. They were actually accused of betraying their husbands, and it was false. So you see, this is all about the injustices that are going on, the betrayals, and people not believing the truth, people not being given the truth. But trust me when I say the truth always prevails. It will always rise, and everything happens in divine order and in divine timing. That's actually astrology. But we've got to get past this next 3 months and use this time to do your own introspection, because as you heal yourself, you heal the world. Because if that is a reflection of what's going on within us, then if we change what's going on within us, it has an effect on the world. This is very important for us all to be aware of. Even though you are thinking there's no way I have anything to do with what's going on there, this is a time for growth, for spiritual development. That's why we're here. And that is what you are going to have the opportunity to explore this month of October. Do some mental, emotional inventory of what it is that needs to be healed from the past that deals with your sense of injustices. And as you heal that, you're going to start attracting a much more beautiful world, because what is within is reflected without. So if you have that reflection without, you are going to see a better world. It's going to get better, but we do have to go through the fire to get to the other side. So with that, I'd like to close. If you would like more information on me, remember, sign up for my free newsletter. Go to my website, which is galacticcenter.org. And remember, if you would like to study Vedic astrology with me, learn the language of the stars. I have the most amazing school all online, and you will come in contact with some of the most incredible students that are part of the University of Vedic Astrology. Check it out. Go to my website, which is universityofvedicastrology.com, and see the research projects and the astrologers that all come together with a purpose to grow, transform, and empower themselves through astrology. Thank you.